The human spirit, it's not just that we can dream big dreams. Anybody can do that. It's that something inside us knows we're meant for more, even when everything around us screams, give up. I was talking to a young man recently, bright kid, about 23 years old. He said to me, I've tried everything, but nothing seems to work. I asked him, how long have you been trying? He said, almost 3 whole months. Can you believe that? 3 months? And he's ready to throw in the towel on his dreams. We all start out as champions. Watch any 5-year-old learning to walk. They fall down 50 times, get up 51. No child ever crawled around thinking, well, I guess walking just isn't for me. They keep going because nobody told them they couldn't. Somewhere along the line, something changes. We start learning how to quit. We get sophisticated about our excuses. The timing isn't right. The market is tough. Maybe next year. And the tragedy isn't in the failing. The tragedy is in the settling. Your mind is the most powerful tool you'll ever own. More valuable than any piece of real estate. More precious than any stock portfolio. But here's the kicker. Most people spend more time planning their summer vacation than they do training their mind for success. The difference between those who achieve their dreams and those who don't isn't talent. It isn't luck. It isn't even opportunity. It's the simple, unwavering decision to train your mind to never quit. Everything in your life right now, everything you have or don't have, is a direct result of how your mind has been programmed. Your bank account, your relationships, your health, it all starts with what goes on between your ears. And the beautiful thing about this, the thing that should get you excited right where you're sitting, is that you can change that programming starting right now. Not next week, not when the conditions are perfect, but right here, today. You know what my mentor taught me years ago about success? He said, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines, practiced every day. And failure is simply a few errors in judgment, repeated every day. The margin between the two is so slight that most people miss it completely. And that's why I'm passionate about this message of mental discipline. Because once you understand the power of training your mind to never quit, everything else falls into place. Your income, it'll change. Your influence, it'll grow. Your impact on the world, it'll multiply. Let me tell you why this matters. Now more than ever, your mind is like a field. What you plant is what you harvest. But unlike a regular field that gives you crops in one season, your mind is working every single moment of every single day, producing the results you see in your life. And this brings me to one of the most powerful stories I've ever come across, the story of the Chinese bamboo tree. Now, this isn't just any ordinary tree. When you plant a Chinese bamboo tree, something remarkable happens. Or should I say, nothing appears to happen at all. You water it, you nurture it, you take care of that little spot of dirt, and for the first year, nothing. Second year, nothing. Third year, still nothing. Fourth year, not a single sprout. Most people would have given up by now. They would have said, this isn't working. They would have planted something else or just paved over that spot for a parking space. But here's the miracle. In the 5th year, within just 6 weeks, the Chinese bamboo tree grows 90 feet tall. Now, let me ask you something. Did that tree grow 90 feet in 6 weeks? Or did it grow 90 feet in 5 years? The answer is crucial because it's the same with your mind. While you're working, while you're studying, while you're practicing your craft, even when you can't see the results, something incredible is happening beneath the surface. During those 5 years, the bamboo tree was building an elaborate root system, a foundation so strong it could support its massive growth when the time was right. And that's exactly what happens when you commit to training your mind to never quit. Your daily disciplines might seem small. Reading that extra chapter when you're tired, making one more sales call when everyone else has gone home, practicing your presentation one more time when your friends are out having fun. It might seem like nothing's happening, but I promise you, something is happening. I remember years ago When I first started in personal development, I was working a regular job, just trying to make ends meet. But I made a decision I would read at least 30 minutes every day. Not magazines, not newspapers, but books that would train my mind. Books about success, about business, about psychology. People thought I was crazy. What's that going to do for you? They'd ask. And for months, nothing seemed to change, but I kept at it. Every day, 30 minutes. Rain or shine, tired or energetic, I kept feeding my mind. And then something started happening slowly at first, then faster and faster. My thinking started changing. The way I approached problems evolved. The questions I asked became different. The opportunities I could see multiplied. Mental discipline, not about forcing yourself to do things you hate. It's about training yourself to become the person who can achieve what you want. The person who doesn't quit. The person who sees obstacles as challenges to overcome, not walls to stop at. There are two kinds of people. There are those who will hear this message and say, "That's interesting," and then go back to their old habits. And there are those who will take this message and turn it into a turning point in their lives. The difference isn't in what they hear, it's in what they do with what they hear. Your mind is like a garden, and negative thoughts are like weeds. They'll grow on their own. You don't have to plant them, water them, or take care of them. But positive thoughts, successful thoughts, never quit thoughts. Those are like flowers. You have to plant them intentionally. You have to nurture them daily. You have to protect them. Just like that bamboo tree. Once your mental foundation is built, your growth won't be incremental. It'll be exponential. You won't just get a little better, you'll transform entirely. But you have to be willing to do the work when no one is watching, to keep going when no one is encouraging you, to believe in the harvest while you're still in the planting season. Success leaves clues, and over the years, I've discovered there are 4 fundamental laws that govern whether someone quits or perseveres. These aren't just theories. They're as reliable as gravity. You don't have to like them, but they'll work whether you believe in them or not. The first is the law of personal development. Now, most people want their lives to get better, but they don't want to get better themselves. They want their paycheck to grow while their knowledge stays the same. They want their influence to increase while their skills remain stagnant. I learned this lesson early in my career when I was struggling to make ends meet. I kept asking, why isn't my income growing? Then my mentor asked me a question that changed how many books have you read in the last 90 days? My answer was 0. He said, there's your problem. You haven't developed yourself, but you're expecting everything around you to improve. Your income will rarely exceed your personal development. Your relationships won't exceed your personal development. Your success won't exceed your personal development. Some people say, well, when I get successful, then I'll work on myself. That's like saying, when I harvest the crop, then I'll plant the seeds. It doesn't work that way. The second law is the law of daily disciplines. This one's simple, but it's not easy. Your life is shaped by what you do consistently, not occasionally. What you do every day matters more than what you do once in a while. I tell people all the time, don't expect to be motivated every day. Motivation is like a hot bath. It feels good, but it doesn't last long. You need discipline. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. If you read just 10 pages of a good book every day, that's 3,650 pages a year. That's about 18 books. In 5 years, that's 90 books. Do you think reading 90 books in your field might make a difference in your life? You bet it would. But most people won't do it because they're waiting to feel like it. The third law is the law of association. Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. This isn't just a clever saying. It's a fundamental truth about human nature. You will become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Years ago, I noticed something interesting. When I started spending time with successful people, success became normal to me. When I was around people who never quit, perseverance became natural. Your environment will either inspire you or expire you. A tough question? Are the people around you lifting you up or pulling you down? Are they feeding your dreams or feeding your doubts? Some people need to be loved from a distance. You don't have to end relationships, but you might need to rearrange them. The fourth law is the law of growth. And this one's crucial because most people misunderstand it. They think growth should be comfortable. They think if it's uncomfortable, something must be wrong. But growth is always uncomfortable. If you go to the gym and lift weights, what happens? You get uncomfortable, your muscles strain. But that's how they grow. Your mind works the same way. When you push past your comfort zone, when you tackle problems that seem too big, when you stay committed even when everything in you wants to quit, that's when you grow. I remember talking to a successful businessman who told me something profound. He said, the turning point in my life wasn't when things got easier. It was when I got stronger. That's what these laws do. They don't make the challenges smaller, they make you bigger. Personal development creates new daily disciplines. Daily disciplines attract better associations. Better associations accelerate your growth. It's like a symphony. When all the pieces play together, the music is beautiful. And you know what the best part is? You can start applying these laws right now. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need special equipment. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. All you need is the decision to begin and the commitment to continue. Speaking of commitment, let me tell you what it really costs to succeed. Everybody wants to be successful, but very few people want to pay the price. They want the rewards without the responsibility. They want the gains without the grind. But success has a price tag, and today I want to talk about what that price really is. I was visiting a museum in Italy some years ago, and I saw this magnificent marble statue. It was so beautiful, so perfect, that it seemed almost alive. And that reminded me of a story about a master sculptor. Someone asked him, how do you create such beautiful statues? His answer was profound. He said, it's simple. I just chip away everything that doesn't look like what I want. Now, that's not just a story about sculpting marble. It's a story about sculpting your life. Success isn't just about what you do. It's about what you're willing to chip away. It's about what you're willing to eliminate. It's about what you're willing to give up. Most people focus on what success will give them. They think about the house, the car, the freedom, but they don't think about what success will cost them. It might cost you your favorite TV show. It might cost you those extra hours of sleep. It might cost you that comfortable routine you built. I remember when I first started out, I was working a regular job, but I knew I wanted more. I'd finish my shift at 5 p.m., and while everyone else was heading home, I'd stay in my car, studying, planning, working on myself. People thought I was crazy. Why are you doing this to yourself? They'd ask. But I understood something they didn't. Success demands sacrifice. What most people don't understand about the price of success, you have to pay in full and you have to pay in advance. Life doesn't send you a bill later. You don't get to enjoy the benefits first and then decide if you want to pay the price. No, you pay first, then you get the rewards. Just like that sculptor with his marble. Before he sees the beauty, he has to be willing to chip away at that block of stone, hour after hour, day after day. He has to be willing to make 1,000 tiny cuts, knowing that each one brings him closer to his masterpiece. The more you're willing to pay up front, the less you have to pay in the long run. The more you invest in yourself now, the more dividends it pays later. The more you're willing to do what others won't do today, the more you'll be able to do what others can't do tomorrow. The price isn't just about time or effort. The biggest price you'll pay is dealing with uncertainty. It's walking away from the good to pursue the great. It's believing in yourself when no one else does. It's continuing when everything in you wants to quit. I talked to a young entrepreneur recently. She said, I know what I need to do, but I am scared. I told her, good. Being scared means you're on the right track. See, fear is often the price tag of opportunity. The things that scare you are usually the things that will grow you the most. When he starts with that block of marble, he can't make mistakes. Once he chips away a piece, it's gone forever. He has to be both bold enough to strike and skilled enough to strike correctly. That's what building success is like. You have to be both courageous and competent. While the price of success is high, the price of regret is even higher. The price of settling for less than you can be, the price of living with what if, the price of watching others achieve what you know you could have achieved, that's a much steeper price to pay. Some people think mental fortitude is something you're born with. That's like thinking muscles are something you're born with. Sure, some people might have a natural advantage, but mental fortitude, just like physical strength, is built through consistent practice and deliberate habits. I've got a friend who runs marathons. One day I asked him, "How do you run 26.2 miles?" His answer surprised me. He said, "I don't. I run 1 mile 26.2 times." See, that's mental fortitude. It's not about doing extraordinary things with extraordinary consistency. Every morning when you wake up, you have two choices. You can hit the snooze button and get a few more minutes of sleep, or you can get up and start building your dream. Now, both choices cost you something. The snooze button costs you your future. Getting up costs you your comfort. But here's the key: every time you choose your future over your comfort, you're building mental fortitude. I developed this practice years ago that transformed my life. Every morning, before I do anything else, I win 5 private victories. I read something positive. I write in my journal. I exercise. I plan my day. I express gratitude. Simple things, but they compound over time. These aren't just activities. They're declarations. Every time I complete them, I'm telling myself, I do what I say I'm going to do. Habits not just about getting things done. They're about building trust with yourself. When you make a promise to yourself and keep it, you're building mental fortitude. When you say you're going to do something and you do it, even when you don't feel like it, you're building mental fortitude. Your habits are like the steering wheel of your life. Small turns, made consistently, determine where you end up. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year of daily disciplines. Successful people don't wait until they feel strong to do difficult things. They do difficult things until they feel strong. That's how mental fortitude is built. It's built in those moments when you're tired, but you keep, when you're discouraged, but you don't quit, when you're uncertain, but you take action anyway. You've got to understand, mental fortitude isn't about never feeling weak. It's about continuing even when you do feel weak. It's like building a house. You don't build it when the storm comes. You build it so strong that when the storm comes, it stands. Start small, but be consistent. If you can't read an hour a day, read 15 minutes. If you can't exercise for an hour, exercise for 10 minutes. But whatever you commit to, do it every single day. No exception. No excuses, because every time you keep a commitment to yourself, you're building that mental fortitude. Celebrate your small victories. Most people wait for the big wins to celebrate, but mental fortitude is built in those tiny moments of triumph. When you say no to that extra slice of cake, celebrate it. When you make that difficult phone call you've been avoiding, celebrate it. When you stick to your morning routine, even when you don't feel like it, celebrate it. But what about those moments when everything in you wants to give up? What about when that voice of surrender gets so loud you can barely think straight? Well, that's exactly what I want to talk about next. We all hear that voice of surrender. That little voice that whispers, maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you should quit while you're ahead. Maybe you're just not cut out. But what separates the successful from the unsuccessful isn't whether they hear that voice. It's how they respond to it. I remember sitting in my tiny apartment years ago, bills piling up, dreams seeming further away than ever. That voice was screaming at me to give up, to go back to the comfortable, to settle for less. But I learned something valuable that day. That voice of surrender gets loudest right before your breakthrough. Self-doubt, not your enemy. It's just a signal that you're pushing beyond your comfort zone. When you understand this, everything changes. Instead of running from self-doubt, you start seeing it as a compass pointing toward growth. Most people quit right at the edge of their breakthrough. They're like the mining crew that dug for gold for months, got tired, sold their equipment, and quit, only to have the next crew strike gold just 3 feet further. 3 feet. That's often all that separates success from failure. I learned this principle from watching water come to a boil. At 211 degrees, water is hot. At 212 degrees, it boils. 1 degree makes all the difference. But here's the interesting part. The water doesn't know how close it is to boiling. It just keeps absorbing heat until it transforms. Your success works the same way. Let me tell you something about persistence that changed my life. Persistence isn't just about keeping going. It's about keeping going with purpose. A rocking chair moves all day, but it doesn't get anywhere. You've got to persist in the right direction with the right strategy, making adjustments as you go. That voice of surrender, it feeds on your isolation. When you're alone with your doubts, they seem bigger than they really are. That's why I tell people, don't just persist, persist among other persisters. Find people who believe in you when you're struggling to believe in yourself. Here's a powerful technique I use when that voice gets loud. I ask myself, what if I'm only being tested? What if this challenge isn't meant to stop me, but to prepare me? This simple shift in perspective changes everything. Suddenly, obstacles become opportunities. Problems become preparation. Most people don't understand this about success. It's not about never falling down. It's about how quickly you get back up. The voice of surrender gets its power from your past failures. But failure isn't fatal unless you quit. Every successful person I know has failed their way to success. I've noticed something interesting about persistence. It's not really about motivation at all. It's about standards. When you raise your standards, when you decide that giving up simply isn't an option, persistence becomes automatic. You don't have to psych yourself up every day. You just do what needs to be done because that's who you are. And here's something crucial about overcoming that voice of surrender. You've got to have a bigger why, a reason that's bigger than your excuses. When your why is strong enough, the how takes care of itself. The voice of surrender can't compete with a powerful enough reason. Every time you push through that voice of surrender, you're not just accomplishing a task, you're building character, you're developing strength that will serve you for the rest of your life. Each small victory over that voice makes the next victory a little easier. Now, let me share something that will tie all of this together, something that will give you the power to take everything we've talked about and turn it into real, lasting change in your life. You know what the most dangerous phrase in the human language is? Someday I'll start that business. Someday I'll write that book. Someday I'll change my life. But here's the truth, someday isn't a day of the week. Your life is happening right now, this very moment. Look around this room. Every single person here has something extraordinary within them. You've got dreams inside you that are worth pursuing. You've got talents that are worth developing. You've got potential that's worth unleashing. And the only question that matters is, what are you going to do about it? I want you to think about something. 5 years from now, you will surely arrive. The question is, where? 5 years from now, you'll be the result of the books you read, the people you associate with, and most importantly, the decisions you make today, not tomorrow, not someday, today. Don't leave this room the same person who walked in. Make a decision right now that your life is too valuable, your dreams are too important, and your potential is too precious to waste. Take everything we've talked about. Mental discipline, the 4 laws, the price of success, mental fortitude, overcoming surrender, and turn it into action. Start small, but start now. Don't try to change everything at once. Pick one area of your life, one habit, one discipline, one decision, and commit to it with everything you've got. Remember the bamboo tree? You might not see results right away, but beneath the surface, something magnificent is happening. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. And starting means making a commitment to yourself that's bigger than your excuses. It means deciding that your dreams are bigger than your fears. It means choosing growth over comfort, progress over perfection. Here's what I know about you. You wouldn't be here if you were meant to be average. You wouldn't be listening if you were meant to settle. There's something inside you that knows you're capable of more. Listen to that voice. Trust that voice. Act on that voice. The world needs what you have. It needs your ideas, your creativity, your passion, your persistence. Don't rob the world of your contribution by playing small. Don't cheat yourself out of your potential by giving in to that voice of surrender. Remember this, success is not an event, it's a process. It's daily disciplines compounded over time. It's small choices that build up to massive changes. It's deciding every single day that your dreams are worth fighting for. And years from now, when you look back on this moment, let it be the moment when everything changed. Let it be the moment when you decided that enough was enough. Let it be the moment when you committed to training your mind to never quit, no matter what.